Hello BookTube, this is my post-fairy tale TBR. Since January 1st, I have been reading the entirety of Fairy Tale by Hiro Mishima. Fairy Tale is a manga series, a Japanese comic book series, that is one of my favorites. So far having a blast, and I've been recapping and talking about the series during my weekly reads. So, I will finish Fairy Tale this coming Monday, Martin Luther King Day. And so after that, I will move on to reading other things. So my post-Fairy Tale TBR will include my readings for Historathon, my 10 contemporary classics I must bell redeem, and my 12 TBR. And then a few holdovers from my Bell Redemption December. So the books are, starting with Historathon, because this will be the first book I read after Fairy Tale, is Papyrus, The Invention of Books in the Ancient World by Irene Vallejo, translated by Charlotte Whittle. This is a history of the invention of books. I've been meaning to get to it for a while, and I'm looking forward to it. For my 10 contemporary classics I must bell redeem, I'm going to start with The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. This is a novel about the golden age of comic books, the early years of comic books, and I read it shortly after it first came out, or shortly after the paperback release. And I liked it well enough, but there was a scene late in the book that just threw me out. And I've never come back to it, and I've been wanting to for a while. So after nearly 20 years, it's time. Well, it's been over 20 years, actually. Moving on to my 12 TBR, I thought maybe I should have two on there because I have some reading plans later in the year, in late September and October, for the Kundal History Prize. I would like to read for that prize again. I did enjoy it this past year, so I'd like to do that again. And also Nonfiction November. So I'm going to have to double up on, and maybe even triple up on, some of my 12 TBR books. So for January, I'm at least hoping to get to Witchmark by C.L. Polk. This is a gaslight fantasy or early diesel punk set in an alternate Edwardian England. So I think it would be more gaslight. I think gaslight sort of bridges the gap between steampunk and diesel punk. But I don't know why it's not called punk. But anyway, it's about a young wizard who falls in love with a young soldier or something like that. I've been meaning to get to this book for years, and it's well past time, which is largely what half of the TBR, the 12 TBR, is meant to do. Anyway, you could go hang out there because you're science fiction fantasy. And the other book on the 12 TBR that I would like to get to this month, if not, I'll kind of push it back, is The Seven Moons of Maali Almeida by Shehan Karunatilaka. This won the last year's Booker Prize. It's set in Sri Lanka, and it's about a gay photographer who has been murdered, and he must figure out what happened before he passes into the afterlife. So, yeah. So my thought for the 12 TBR is, since it's half science fiction fantasy, half literary fiction, that I would try to sort of balance them out one way or another. But we'll see how that turns out. Now, moving on to my finishing off my Bill Redemption December from last year, I had 3 books on the go. So I have 2 that I'm thinking about having a go at if I have time this month. And those are The Lesser Bohemians by Eimear McBride. This is a novel set in London about an Irish drama student who gets involved with an older actor. I have picked it up on the recommendation of Steve Donahue, and it didn't quite work for me, but I'm hoping third time's the charm. And also Lot by Bryan Washington. This is a collection of short stories that I picked up in 2020, read it sometime in 2021, didn't quite get on with it because the connected series of short stories within the collection I didn't particularly care for after a while. But maybe a Bill Redemption will work. And if I have some extra time, and if I really want some more nonfiction, I will be having a go at Vanguard by Martha S. Jones. This is a look at, as the subtitle says, how Black women broke barriers, won the vote, and insisted on equality for all. This was longlisted for not this past year's, but the year before its Kindle Prize. And I think Martha S. Jones was a judge for this year's, or was it the previous? Anyway, Anyway, I'm getting confused. So she was a judge, not in the year that she was nominated. It was like the year before or the year after. But anyway, so I've been wanting to have a read this. I wanted to read this book for a while, and hopefully I will either get to it later in this month, or if not, then it will definitely be on my docket for sometime in January. For February. This is what happens when I skip 2 days. Although I don't know why it doesn't happen when I skip the weekends, but anyway. So that's my hoped for TBR for after I finish Fairy Tale on Monday. But I'll see how it turns out. I might have a desire for something else, or something else might happen. But for now, that's my projected TBR for the rest of January post Fairy Tale. I will be back later this evening with part 2 of my Fairy Tale recap and discussion. So until then, thank you, BookTube. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.